Since the legendary victory of Tiber Septim over the barbarian natives in the Battle of Old Hroldan, Imperial and Nord scholarship has cast the people of the Reach as little more than savages, prone to irrational fits of violence, worshipping old heretical gods and fetishizing beasts and nature spirits that any civilized person would best well avoid. In truth, these accounts are little more than Victor's essays, a perspective narrowed by the Empire's constant strife with the ancient, proud people that lived in this land far before Tiber Septim walked the soil of Tamriel. In light of this, I hope to create a more complete, accurate, and fair assessment of a group that has long suffered under the role of enemy, troublemakers, and them. Let us begin with the Forsworn, the so-called Madmen of the Reach. The Imperial Legion classifies them as little more than brigands, noting their constant raids and ambushes within the hold. But none of their military reports asks the question of why. If they were merely a group of bandits, surely they would be focused on acquiring gold and minimizing deaths among their own. But the opposite is true in Forsworn attacks. Large sums of coin are often left behind, and their fighters easily throw away their lives rather than risk capture by Imperial soldiers. It is this incongruity that led me to Markarth, the capital city of the Reach, in search of answers. There, I met one of the native peoples, an old woman who preferred to not be named in my writings. She told me of her family's long history, how she believes they originally came from High Rock, home of the Bretons, which would explain the similar faces and stature of the two peoples, how the Nords came and took their lands, their gods, and their culture from them. When asked about the Forsworn, the old woman would say that they are the real men and women of the Reach, those that refuse to give in to the Nords, those that still practice the ancient traditions that the rest of their people had abandoned in exchange for peace. In time, I was able to create trust with many more natives in my search that corroborated the old woman's story. By chance, one of them arranged a meeting between myself and what I thought was an elder member of his village. I was shocked to find that I was led to a camp filled with the animal skulls, severed heads, and still beating hearts that I had read about from the military reports back in the Imperial City. There, I met Corteran, a Forsworn, who seemed amused at the prospect of me writing down his story. He said the following to me:
"You want to know who the Forsworn are? We are the people who must pillage our own land, burn our own ground. We are the scourge of the Nords, the axe that falls in the dark, the scream before the gods claim your soul. We are the true sons and daughters of the Reach. The spirits and hags have lived here from the beginning, and they are on our side. Go back and tell your empire that we will have our own kingdom again. And on that day, we will be the ones burying your dead in a land that is no longer yours."
The reachmen of High Rock are a race of humans who are native to the Reach in southwestern Skyrim. They are believed to be closely related to the Bretons. The reachmen existed long before the dragon cult and were there long after the dragons left and the ancient Nordic cities crumbled into ruin. Their warlords conquered Cyrodiil for a time and they ruled the Reach for centuries. They maintained their ancient culture and language for thousands of years. In 1E420, the western reach of Skyrim was taken by the Direni, the elven ancestors of the Bretons. Eventually, the Direni were eliminated in Skyrim, but the traces of their blood forever remained in the veins of the native reachmen. In 2E852, some reachmen clans allied with the Second Almeri Dominion, as they frequently clashed with the Nords to the east, until the arrival of Tiber Septim at the end of the Second Era. He led his troops and broke into the reachmen lines, forcing them to fortify themselves at Old Hroldan. Legends say that Tiber Septim used the ancient Nord art of the Tomb to shout down the walls of Old Roldan. They took the city with ease, and Markarth and the lands of the Reach were soon occupied by the Nords, while the imperial propaganda branded the Reachmen as rebellious and lawless mongrels. This story of Tiber Septim's contact with the Reachmen is documented in the book The Arcturian Heresy, which was written by Michael Kirkbride. In the Fourth Era, the Reachmen are shunned by most of Nord and Britain society. They typically inhabit makeshift fortresses built into caves and ruins throughout the Reach's battle-scarred landscape. However, in 4E 174, during the Great War, when the Empire did not have the resources to maintain the outer provinces, a group of Reachmen led by Madanak commenced what would later be known as the Forsworn Uprising, gaining control of Markarth and the Reach. They created an independent kingdom and administered it peacefully. But all of that changed just after 2 years when the Nord militia led by Ulfric Stormcloak successfully drove the Reachmen from the city of Markarth and reclaimed the Reach. Madanak was thrown in Sidnamine and he is still languishing there in 4E 201 when the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim starts. So as you can see, the Reachmen have an ancient culture and have been part of Western Skyrim for thousands of years. It is so frustrating how Bethesda made a native culture oppressed by Nord imperialism into these bloodthirsty savages known as the Forsworn in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The Forsworn aren't representative of all the Reachmen, but seeing how little you see of the non-Forsworn natives, the presentation of this ancient culture is not very nuanced. It would have been nice if Skyrim depicted at least few Reachmen clans that weren't Forsworn. If you're interested in seeing more of the Reachmen, I would encourage you to play the Morrowind mod Skyrim Home of the Nords. The mod developers have created multiple clans of Reachmen who have their own culture and needs. So that was a discussion on the Madmen of the Reach and how their portrayal in the Elder Scrolls V could have been so much more than what was actually in game.